Coming up on the WAC podcast, we are in Orem, Utah for the WAC Track and Field Championships. Colby Jackson filling in for Kendra Sheehan, who is at the WAC softball tournament in Seattle, calling those games. We'll talk about that a little bit as well. Baseball, we have the cream rising to the top. Golf, we're in the regionals. Lots to talk about coming up on the WAC podcast. Welcome to the WAC podcast. Eric Danner with Colby Jackson. Colby, we're in Orem, Utah. Beautiful scenery. I don't know if you can see the snow behind us if you're watching on YouTube. Track and field practice. We're shooting on Wednesday. Meet starts on Thursday. First off, is this your first trip to Utah?
This is my very first time being in the state of Utah, yep.
So what are your initial thoughts here?
It's very beautiful here. Just the mountains and scenery. I've lived in Texas all my life, so just seeing all these mountains and the snowy tops, it's just very beautiful to see.
Yeah, it's May. They had snow here in Orem a few days ago. That's since melted from our forecast. Supposed to be the coldest day of the week today and progressively get warmer as we look forward to a fantastic championship. Looking at the pre-championship coaches polls, of course, you were at indoor in Albuquerque where we saw the Southern Utah men perhaps upset Grand Canyon. The Grand Canyon women did win. Grand Canyon men and women both predicted to win the outdoor track and field championships.
Yeah, once again, Grand Canyon the favorites to sweep the outdoor now championship polls. In the men's side, you got Grand Canyon leading UT Arlington, Southern Utah, Utah Valley, and Stephen F. Austin. On the women's side, you got Grand Canyon leading Utah Valley, UT Arlington, and UTRGV, and Southern Utah rounding out that top five. So it's going to be some close battles just like out indoor was.
Yeah, and it'll be kind of fun. We're going to have the broadcast here on ESPN Plus. Different than some of the other tracks that we've been to before in terms of the field events happening right here. They're not on a separate area, so they're practicing the pole vault, the javelin, the long jump, the throws, everything behind us, as well as the running events. So that'll be a lot of fun to check out here. Softball, as we mentioned, happening right now in Seattle, so we don't want to talk about the matchups too much because by the time this airs on Thursday, a lot of those games have already been played. But it is interesting in that the fact that we had our award winners and Grand Canyon had a lot of them in the sport of softball.
Yeah, they got 4 of the 5, I believe, was the Player of the Year, Pitcher of the Year, Coach of the Year, and Rookie of the Year. So Grand Canyon definitely going to be a favorite to watch in this tournament.
So Ashley Treeweiler from Grand Canyon is the WAC Player of the Year. Of course, Kristen Fifield was our Joe Kearney Award winner last year as the most outstanding athlete, not just in the sport of softball, but in all of the women's sports in the WAC. And here comes Ashley Treeweiler winning that award. And she is one of the top batters in the nation, hitting .464, leads the WAC in batting average. And last year, Colby, she was second in the nation in batting at Santa Clara.
That's pretty impressive. Second in the nation in batting average. That's a pretty impressive feat to accomplish. It's getting on bases, and that's one thing to do. Getting on by hits, that's really one tough thing to do in the sport of softball.
Yeah, she is also leading the WAC in runs scored, on-base percentage, and hits, as well as batting average. Pitcher of the Year goes to Haley Hudson, also of GCU. She currently leads the WAC in wins with 13, strikeouts with 101, and ERA at 2.33. That's tough to get a hit off of her.
Yeah, over 55.2 conference innings pitches, and Hudson's issued 44 strikeouts and an opposing batting average of .228. So you're holding them to at least 2 to 3 hits per every 10 batters she's facing.
Incredible. Savannah Groshong Kirk of GCU is the Freshman of the Year. She hit .456 in conference games, batting .400 for the season. Of course, Shannon Hayes, the Coach of the Year from Grand Canyon, 23-3. They are the top seed in this week's tournament.
They're going to be ones to watch. Like I said, GCU's just tough to beat on that softball field. The Lopes had hit .346 as a team and scored 189 runs during their season. Swept 6 of the 8 conference series during this season as well.
And the Defensive Player of the Year goes to Karen Spatafora from Seattle U, the freshman catcher. Perfect fielding percentage against WAC opponents this year. Tennis came to an end this past week. Colby, I know you're our media contact for the sport of tennis. The UTA men, you were down in Harlingen, and you saw the UTA men win the championship down there. They fall to number 11 Oklahoma 4-0 in that one.
Yeah, UT Arlington had a great season in the end. They really fought hard in Harlingen. They had to fight hard for a 4-3 win against RGV in the semifinals, and another 4-3 win against GCU in the finals as well. So they really put up a good fight there. Put up another good fight against Oklahoma. What are you going to do? Number 11 in the nation. They got the experience. They got a good fight, but you know, in the end, all you can do is say they held their head high, put up a good fight against one of the top teams in the nation.
That is true. And on the women's side, there was some speculation that we might have our first win in about more than a decade, but San Diego came on strong. They were able to sweep GCU on the women's side.
Yeah, San Diego, probably a lot better than we thought they'd be, beating one of the best teams in the western side of the country, Grand Canyon, just led by Natasha Pusa and Santa Strombaca. They're both really good players in the WAC this year, and they put up their fights in their individual singles and doubles courts as well, just fell up a little short against San Diego.
And men's golf, that'll be starting up this upcoming week in Austin, Grand Canyon. One on the men's side. They will start on Monday in Austin, Texas. Kevin Lee from Seattle U, the individual champion. He will be playing in Rancho Santa Fe, California. On the women's side, finishing up as we're shooting this again on Wednesday, Seattle U currently in 12th place in their regional, heading into the final round. They're just 4 strokes behind Alabama. Roll Tide for 11th place at Tumble Creek Club in Clay, Elm, Washington. Ryan Honey from Abilene Christian. We've talked about them on the podcast quite a bit this year in terms of their first year as a women's golf program. Ryan Honey, the individual champion in the WAC. She goes to the NCAA Regionals in Bryan, Texas, hosted by Texas A&M at Traditions Golf Club. I'm not familiar with that area. I know you're kind of a Texas guy. You been down there?
I was going to say, I have not been to the Traditions in the A&M area. I have, from the very amateur experience I have on a golf course, doing something like they're doing right now is very impressive. I can say it's hard to hit a golf ball straight from my personal experience. I can unfortunately say that myself.
That is no truer words have ever been said by Colby Jackson. Baseball standings a few weeks away from Mesa, Arizona, Hohokam Stadium. 5 teams have clinched spots, Colby, in the tournament. Grand Canyon, Abilene Christian, Tarleton State, Utah Valley, and California Baptist. And one of the things that's a little different this year, 8 teams going, but 5, 6, 7, 8, they got to play a single elimination game on Tuesday to advance to the second round.
Yeah, it's very important to get that first round win, or else one or done. But once you get that first round win, if you win that first few rounds, then you kind of not relax, but kind of just, say, hey, I have one fallback game. We can take one game to risk, like, okay, maybe that wasn't a great game, but we have, from there on, we got to really focus up and win out the rest of the game. So as long as they get that first round win, then they can focus from there.
And it's also set up so 3 and 4, they obviously get a bye on day 1, and then 1 and 2, they don't have to play until Thursday. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of like basketball in that the higher seeds are protected, especially in the sport of baseball where you're playing in a tournament, Colby, where, potentially if you're a 1 or 2 seed, you might only have to win 3 games and only use 3 pitchers.
Exactly. Especially in baseball, you really want those extra rest days for your pitching staff, because pitching staff is very valuable when it comes to baseball, and especially college baseball. You just really want to save up your best pitchers for the championship game, semifinals, if you're 1, 2 seeds, and then really just save your pitchers for when you really need them the most.
And a big matchup coming up this week. Actually, last week, wanted to mention Grand Canyon had 3 wins over California Baptist, all via the run rule. Going into that series, Colby, California Baptist was the number 2 team in the standings. So Grand Canyon playing tremendously. Not only did they get those 3 wins via the run rule, they also whacked the University of Washington on Tuesday night.
Yeah, that's a big win for Grand Canyon over Washington. Going back to the series against CBU, that's a potential championship series, we could say, and GC just wiped the floor with Cal Baptist, unfortunately. But hopefully they can learn from their mistakes this past week and have another potential championship preview heading into championship.
And not only that, the week before, they played Arizona at Arizona, ranked number 21 in the country. They run-ruled Arizona. Mm-hmm. So that tells how good GCU, they're on an 8-game win streak right now. Also, Utah Tech getting a whacked win over the University of Utah, and Utah Tech's on the bubble to even make the tournament right now.
Yeah, both Utah Tech and Utah Valley have got some good amount of whacked wins this season over top 25, Power 5 conference schools this season. So getting those big wins over them is a big confidence booster for the coaches and the team as a whole.
Big matchup coming up this week. We have Abilene Christian at GCU, so it'll be interesting to see if the Lopes can stay on fire, as Abilene Christian has now moved into a tie for second place. So a big matchup there. As we mentioned, those seeds are going to be huge coming down the stretch. Coming up next, we're going to talk with Southern Utah head coach in track and field, Eric Houle. They're the champions in the indoor ranks. We're going to talk to Coach next on the WAC Podcast.
University Credit Union has been serving students, employees, and alumni of the university community for more than 70 years. We've got plenty of moves that benefit our members, like the lowest loan rates in the nation guarantee, educational resources, personalized savings and investing advice, and 24/7 online and mobile banking. Plus, our virtual assistant, Royce, is always happy to deliver an assist. University Credit Union, the winning choice. Learn more and join today at ucu.org.
Welcome back to the WAC podcast. Eric Danner, now joined by Southern Utah head track and field coach Eric Houle. Coach, thanks for joining us.
Good to be here.
We're here in Utah. Boy, what a beautiful backdrop for those watching on YouTube. Southern Utah, I guess you're kind of used to this kind of thing now.
Yeah, I mean, it's each part of the state has their own unique look, and here it's the Great Grand Mountains. In Southern Utah, it's the Red Mountains and the Canyonlands, and so it's really awesome, wherever we can be to have a track meet here in Utah.
But having it in Utah, I think you said, about a 3-hour drive from Cedar City?
Yeah, a real short drive.
As opposed to, some of the other places that might be this, do you feel like there might be a little home court advantage for you guys today?
Well, a lot of times, I mean, we're pretty much all over the country, and it's rare that we, run in Cedar City. We did have a track meet this year there, but to come home and to even just have to drive 3 hours, whether it's UVU or BYU or Utah, it still feels like home. So it's not a hard adjustment.
33 years at Southern Utah. What is it about Southern Utah that's kept you there, and why do you love doing it?
Well, I graduated from there, and when I was a young person, I got a track scholarship there, and just had a great experience. And when I graduated, I went to teach and coach at a high school, and then after a few years there, this job opened up, and they had just barely turned D1, so it was a great opportunity to come back and coach here or at Southern Utah. It was awesome, and so and it's just a beautiful area and a nice university, and so I just thoroughly enjoy it. It's been fun, and the years have flown by, so it doesn't seem like 33 years.
I think I read 47 conference championships. Is that correct?
Yeah, something like that.
Getting close to 50. And then you had a conference championship in Albuquerque at indoor. What's it going to take to get another conference championship this week at outdoor?
Just like the indoor and cross and any other championship, you have to have a lot of things fall into place. One, you can't have some injuries. Two, people, you hope they're rested enough and their head is still in the game. Most of them are out of school right now and thinking of summer breaks and stuff like that. So if the athletes are engaged, they're excited, we can stay healthy. I can't say we're going to for sure win it with all those things, because there are a lot of other universities that are thinking the same thing. Keep our athletes healthy, make sure that baton doesn't drop, and hopefully everything works out. And so for me, like I've said before, I've been in a ton of them, and so right now it's just we're competitive, and that's what matters. And we can just hope for the best, and what will be will be.
We always hear about track and field being, especially track being an aerobic sport and altitude. Are you guys coming down in altitude for this? So is this beneficial for you?
We're at 57 to 6,000 feet. So, we're actually dropping 500 feet. So I don't, the athletes don't think it's that big of a deal, and I don't even, anyways, I don't either. So I think when you're dropping anywhere from 2,000 to 3,000 feet, it does make a difference.
Who are some athletes to keep an eye on for the Thunderbirds this week?
I think our sprint group that really went crazy fast for us, Jace Carpenter, he's at 45 right now, something. I think he's hit that first standard for the U.S. trials. Dylan Gibson, a great team leader. I mean, he's going to be right there too. Nelson Douglas, those three guys really, really helped us in the indoor. And if they continue that, they'll make a very strong impact in the 4, the 2, the relays, and so I'm looking forward to that. On the distance side, on the men's side, Isaiah is going to be there. He won the mile and stuff, and he's coming back off of an injury, and so we're hoping he's ready to go. And I think the only thing he needs is some races under his belt. Hayden Howard, who's already hit a standard for the U.S. trials too, and so I think he comes in as the fastest guy in the steeplechase right now. He should do some good things. Travis Feeney, had a great indoor season. I think he's set to have another good outdoor season. In the jump, Cedar English, I mean, he's a national qualifier, and so I think those people, those men will really help set the tone, I think, for this meet for us.
How about on the women's side? Who are some athletes to watch?
I think Secret McEwen will be, in the sprint side will be really good. Savannah Nelson coming back in the hurdle. She had a great indoor performance for us. Cedra Hamilton, who we finally got back, there's not a lot out there on her right now, but I think she could make a good impact for us on the women's side. And so, and a sprinkling of distance runners and some throwers and jumpers. And so, I've redshirted some people this outdoor season, both on the men's and the women's, that obviously were point getters, but, we're hoping it will not affect us that much and we can still be competitive.
Now, Southern Utah, since you joined the WAC a few years ago, obviously you have some built-in rivalries. Utah Tech is just down the road, but Utah Valley, is that a little more special when you compete against the Wolverines?
It's fun. I mean, I think we both have gotten over the idea that we have to compete against each other. It doesn't, there's no arguments at Christmas time or anything like that. It's
Thanksgiving, maybe.
A couple little discussions, but no, it's really good. It's friendly and stuff. It's the game we bought into, and I just happened to, end up in the WAC, and so it's just something we have to deal with. But like I've said before, I mean, to have him being successful at Utah Valley, how can you be disappointed with that? I mean, it's really cool, and I know he feels the same way. And like all of us, all the programs out there, you have great years and you have not so great years. And the trick is to be able to regroup and develop your program, and so that in a couple years you're more competitive. And then again, you start that process over again. So if it's his turn, that's awesome.
And when you say him, that's your brother Scott,
yeah,
head coach at Utah Valley. What about recruiting? I mean, do you guys? Imagine you're probably recruiting some of the same athletes. I mean, you're in the same state, right?
Yeah, I mean, and the atmospheres are different. Cedar City is a smaller community and a smaller part of the state. Utah Valley sits here in a pretty populated area, so it's tough to take people out of their own backyard, and then sometimes you get some and sometimes you don't. But the way we recruit now, I mean, as you look at our roster, we have people from Canada, from Jamaica, from Utah, from all around the country. So, I mean, we recruit all around, and so I know that he does too. So there's plenty of athletes to go around. I think sometimes there's a tendency to just stay in Utah, but you have to be competitive. I mean, we have to try to be competitive with the Oregons, the Stanfords, the Arkansas. So you got to go and try to get the next best level you can. And sometimes we can find them here in Utah, and other times we have to go, throughout the United States or outside the country.
Well, Coach Houle, I want to thank you for taking some time out. The action gets underway on ESPN Plus 4:30 on Thursday Mountain Time, and it should be a lot of fun. Thanks for listening, everybody, to the WAC Podcast.
Thanks for listening to the WAC Podcast. Make sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. And check out our website at wacsports.com.